Hello, everybody. Today we are looking at featured entries from the August Art Dare, and we are also announcing the October Art Dare. Welcome to Art Prof. This is our global art party. The August Art Dare was water. We asked you to create an artwork in any media that has water as a subject. The first artist we're going to look at is Moss, who says, as a result of trying to not go with the obvious landscape, I tried to lean into the more abstract shapes. And this is a top view on light, shows the quick moving water cropped out of an old holiday photo, and says, I really like the different colors I found in a small space.
This is such a lovely depiction. I really enjoy the fact that Moss has abstracted the water to just show the surface. And what's really fun is that if we were to just forget everything we know and not understand this as water, what we do see are just shapes of color, line, value. But then the more we look, the more we start to decipher it, the more we perceive, the more we start to piece together the pieces of the puzzle and say, hey, it's water, it's reflective. I see sky reflected, I see light reflected, I see a lot of texture. It's definitely water.
I think water is so difficult because it's not like an apple that is so tangible and easy to define. But then if you put on top of the transparency, the movement that Moss is talking about, it really feels like you're trying to paint some squiggly fish, like you can't hold on to anything. And one of the things I appreciate so much is how these white shapes are really thick, well-defined edges. But then look at the amazing range of muted colors. They're all almost the same darkness, but because there's so much variation in color, we don't get bored.
Right. I think there's just so much about the fundamentals of art at play in this piece, from the shape to the color to light and shadow to line. I actually really appreciate the thin lines that Moss has put throughout the piece. It really helps give the surface some sort of faceted surface.
Welcome, everybody. George, Carolyn, Manette, 10K, and Nita. Tell us in the comments about something you did today. I miraculously went to the gym. I usually don't on Fridays, so I felt really proud. Anything you did today, Kat? Small or big?
Ooh. Yes, I was working on my upcoming graphic novel, Nostalgia. It felt really good to have a long, sustained period of time of several hours to work on it. So I feel like I got a lot done today, but I just need to keep doing this for more weeks and months.
Well, some of you may have heard on social media, I do have a book deal, and I'm trying to find those chunks of time to write because I think writing, and I suspect cartooning with you as well, it's not something where you can do it in little bits. Because sometimes with social media, I'm like, oh, I can do this for like 15 minutes. But writing, I have to write for a good 45 minutes before anything decent comes out.
I'm totally the same way. I think that's why sustained time is so important to me. And I have to learn how to put my graphic novel as a priority.
Some nice comments from Lisa, who says water changes constantly, lighting and viewing angle affects it. And Manette is commenting on the movement in this one. Okay, the next artist is Lisa, who says, this dare I tried to show things I really enjoy doing with my son. The playfulness, the curiosities, the serenity water can imbue. And there's one portrait at the end about how one can feel when depressed, and water was a good fit for that too. I love that there's a theme here, Kat.
I love it too. I think that I actually don't know how many pieces Lisa has submitted. How many? Two? Three?
We have a whole
Four?
bunch. I
Five?
know. So many.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Lisa, that's incredible. You have a sustained body of work here with water as a theme. That's pretty much everything we want in a series. A core and then
In one
explorations to
month.
that core. In 1 month. Oh my goodness. Lisa's crazy. Oh my gosh.
I think it's amazing, the range. This one is so beautiful and serene and delicate, and the canvas doesn't really have much on it, but it has such a great sense of atmosphere. But then if I look at the ice cube piece, these are really bold, chunky brushwork. And so, Lisa, I think we're really seeing your range as a painter here.
I agree. I mean, not just as a painter, but also perhaps as a storyteller too, in terms of communicating a certain mood or emotion with each piece. I feel like my mood dramatically changes depending on which piece I look at. I saw the one with the water gun fight, which I thought that was full of joy, exuberance. It's super loud. I can almost hear the children screaming at each other. It's so dynamic. But then we get to something with the person who's half underwater, and I suddenly feel a lot more morose, perhaps is the word, a lot more not calm, but maybe more negative. Maybe I'm sinking into water. But then I get to the duck, which feels so serene, atmospheric, mysterious, and it also makes me a little bit nostalgic somehow. So the vast ranges of mood and story to all these pieces is quite incredible.
And I like, Lisa, how you're able to do a whole scene like the duck, but then zeroing in on this one drop of water. It's wonderful the range of ways that you visually tell the story. The one with the boy here, I just think that his posture is really solid. He just seems like he really knows what he's doing, and the kid on the right is so taken aback. I just think that's so well done.
I think something else that I love about this series is how sensory it is. I can almost feel the spray of water. I look at the ice cubes and I'm like, I feel like I can put that in my mouth and I know what it feels against my teeth. Or I look at something with the very first image splashing in the puddle. I know exactly the sound that would make. So just through visuals, I feel like Lisa is giving us so much more than just the illusion of three-dimensionality on the canvas. Lisa's also giving us the illusion of mood and sensory, what was the word? Senses, I guess, in the pieces.
Anna says, I spent a lot of time with water this summer, and it's definitely a healing experience. Good for treating depression. I miss it. And we also have Butter, who mentions, I so enjoyed Lisa getting inspired and take off with this dare. So if you didn't know, in our Discord, we have a whole channel that is just for the art dares. And what's really fun about it is that you guys can get in there and you can watch people develop pieces throughout the month and also get ideas from each other. In fact, if we look at the Discord right now, oh, this is Lisa's art dare submission for this month. I just happened to click on it. But you can see up here, Marsha's doing this smash pottery for this month's dare, which is to smash and crush your materials. And this is just one of my favorite things, is to come into this channel and see what people are doing for this month's dare. Okay, let's go to Jennifer, who says, I wanted to be abstract, create a series with a lot of 3D texture. The pieces imitate oceans and atmosphere as seen from space or turning waters. And materials were spackle, magazine, mulberry paper, acrylic paint, and also Jennifer sanded back the paint to reveal the colors of water.
Ooh, this is so fun. I feel like Jennifer is really playing with optical illusion here. I feel like spackle and the mulberry paper, the acrylic paint, they're so thick and viscous, and I imagine them to be heavy. I imagine these pieces to have some kind of weight to them, but to portray something as fluid, as uh, as liquidy, as light as water, I think is a really interesting dynamic.
I really love how tactile this piece is because I've been seeing Jennifer's collages and mixed media for a while, and I think these feel more like sculptures to me than actual 2D pieces. And I love that there's so much depth because what the sanding does is it takes away that top layer and then it reveals the landscape of what's underneath. And to me, that is so much what water is that there are things underneath the water at various parts of the ocean or whatever. And I think that is so well done. But also that between the four pieces, each one is distinct. However, they totally group together.
I think that's what makes it so powerful as a series. I think where series fall apart for some people is clearly there's just one piece that doesn't match up to the rest. But in Jennifer's case, all four pieces are just as strong, just different. And I think that's what makes such a powerful series. I also would like to add, I know that Jennifer meant to portray perhaps the surface of the ocean or water from farther away, but it's interesting how many forms water can take because I look at this and I also imagine condensation on glass. As if I see the water droplets,
Oh,
I see the steam, I feel like I can see the water droplets merging together as well.
I was seeing icebergs that were slowly moving and separating. And I think you did so well, Jennifer, because they are abstract, but clearly we are getting our own interpretations of water based on how you're doing it. Because water can be on a massive scale, but it can also be like Lisa's, which was just a single drop. And I think here there's a little bit of an ambiguity. We don't really know if this is gigantic or really small. Manette says, I want to touch it and trace the texture. Jennifer says, pretty. And Missa says, I really love the range of pieces that come in through the Art Dare. It never gets old to me, Kat. No matter what situation I'm assigning something, of course, it originally started with the classroom teaching at RISD, assigning a prompt and seeing what everybody does, but it's very inspiring to see all the different interpretations.
I agree. And each person has their own set of tastes, ideas, histories, and ultimately, inevitably, it is channeled through the artwork and how each person interprets the prompt.
Next artist is Fiona, who says, I've always loved octopi. This image was created using Procreate, involved the use of many canvases to allow for more details. I had fun playing with the bright colors of ocean life.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of the diversity of pieces that we see in all of these art dares, this is just a complete 180 from the other pieces. This is really wonderful to see. I love how Fiona is totally not afraid of color, completely not afraid, just going for the most saturated colors possible, but also having a very sophisticated sense of making the scheme more unified as it goes back into space. As you can see, it gets more blue, it gets less contrasted. It also has less different kinds of saturated color. So it just tells me that first of all, Fiona's not afraid of color, but second, Fiona knows how to use it in terms of portraying space, foreground, middle ground, background.
I love that there's this frosty blue in a lot of the octopus because that makes it really more congruent with the colors that are around it. Because you would think that if you have a giant pink octopus that it might not fit the scene very well, but I think the distribution of colors is really well done, but also the depth. Because if we look at the seaweed back here, a lot of this is just really, really simple lines. There's no detail back there. Things are very blurry. And then when we get up to some of the other areas, there's so much detail packed in there.
Right. I'm kind of in awe. Well, I am in awe. I shouldn't just say kind of. I am in awe with how much detail there is in the foreground to the point where when we look at the octopus, we can feel the exact form of every single suction cup. I feel like if I press my hand against one of those suction cups in the tentacle, my hand would stick. It feels so very tactile.
Lisa says the ocean scene would cheer up a room, great for a classroom. Manette is admiring the texture on the octopus and therefore feeling more motivated to learn more about Procreate. Carolyn says that is gorgeous. I am so bad at Procreate. So I'm marveling over this piece and just the sheer work ethic and focus it must have taken to make a piece like this.
Mm.
A reminder to everybody that we have 3 workshops that are running. We have Figures in Motion, Portraits, Exploring Flesh Colors, and a Night Scenes workshop. These are really great if you want to get a boost because learning with other people, it's just so much faster and more fun to learn together. And also, just as a little nudge, sometimes that's all we need, Kat. Sometimes we think, oh God, I'm not going to do this. And then somebody's like, just a little bit. And then before you know it, you're like painting for 3 hours.
Yeah, I agree. I think that making art in isolation is so difficult.
So
I don't know
hard.
how other people can do it. I don't think I could. I would certainly need a community. Just a friend that says, go ahead and try this color blue. And then I just take that and run with it. I just need that connection.
Okay, let's talk about Nita, who says, I took this photo years ago. I only noticed a couple on the rock once I went through the photos at home. I feel like I'm too tense in my art. So for the waves and rock, I use charcoal and white pastel, and the figures are in graphite. And Nita says it was my first time using this gray paper. It was nice being able to focus on the shadows and highlights and also the fine spray of the waves. There's also stippling and smudging happening in here.
I'm really happy to know this artist statement for this piece as well, because now I can confidently say that, Nita, I think that you are being very ambitious and you are not afraid to try new things. What I love about this piece is just how many marks, kinds of marks, I can see on the page. And you're really making good use of the white, the black, and the gray to be able to fully experiment and let loose and try out all these different textures. Plus, I love how you focused in and really carved out the 2 little figures. What I love the most about them is their scale. I love how small they are.
But you still understand their connection with each other. It feels very loving. It feels like this moment where they're alone with this nature event happening around them. I think it has a really romantic sensibility to the way that you set up the scene. And good for you for picking that toned paper, as Butter is saying, because the way that you were able to be so direct with your marks, making all those white areas, I think was a great choice.
Mm.
But also, I think it really matters, Kat, that the people were in matte graphite and that the other parts of the scene were done with charcoal pencil and stuff.
Mm. I think it matters too. It gives the figures, I think, first of all, more body, like they have more of a physical form, but it also feels like a textural contrast from all the wild nature going on, the rocks, the water, the splashing, the spray. And then in all of this wilderness, we have this couple who seem very connected to each other and very solid in their feelings for each other.
George says, reminds me of something by Winslow Homer. And Carolyn says, I can feel the cold spray from the wave. And Lisa mentions that it reminds me of an old black and white movie. I think for me, that's where the romance part comes in. And then Brian is saying there's a lot of value in this piece.
Mm.
Okay, next artist is Manette, who is here live with us in the chat. And this is a piece which is a Grim Reaper type of character. And so there are all these different elements. There's the pattern in the water, the sky, shape of the boat. All of this was done very intuitively. It was very freeing to paint in that way, Manette says. And the main points were to show death as something that doesn't need to be feared and maybe even cares for the souls that cross over. See, I love this interpretation of water from a mythological point of view. The Grim Reaper is in many, many different kinds of stories, but I love seeing your unique interpretation, Manette.
Right. I think this might be the first fantastical linear story that we kind of see in one of these standalone images so far from this art dare. And I really love it. I love how Manette got the prompt water and immediately started thinking, well, what kind of story do I want to tell? I want to show the Grim Reaper. Manette really took this under their own wing and just made it their own prompt. So that's really incredible to see. I think my favorite part about this piece is the pattern. All the different kinds of pattern, even the pattern in the sky, the little bits of pattern in the clothing. This sea, the water itself has so many different kinds of pattern depending on the surface of the water.
I just love this little squiggle at the bottom where we feel the edge of the water going up against the canoe. Even this little circle of ripples towards the bottom, you really feel like you get a sense of the interaction with the water. And down here, there's so many different colors and patterns. There's these little dots in here. So it definitely holds together as an entire composition. But when you get in close, there's so much more for you to notice. Yeah, Butter's admiring the souls that were earlier in here. I was thinking about William Blake, who is somebody who's done lots of spirits swooshing around in the sky. And I love that it's this transparent white on top of the purple watercolor. That really comes across beautifully. And 10K says, I love how this gives a different perspective on death. It's peaceful and whimsical instead of scary. And Brian says, Anne Sexton had this poem, The Awful Rowing to God. This art reminds me of that. I think it's such a well-developed narrative, Manette. You really created your world for this series of narratives. And it's based on the Grim Reaper, which we've seen a million times. But this truly is how you've chosen to interpret the Grim Reaper. Oh, Manette says the souls are metallic watercolor. Oh, I think it was those bean paints that you sent me, Manette. I did those on the live stream last Friday. Those were really fun.
That's really fun to see. I've never used
Okay,
metallic watercolor. Sorry.
They're fun. So this is 10K, who is also here in the chat, who says, I always love the glowfish at the pet stores. I find them so beautiful. I wanted to create a fun, colorful painting that is calm and energizing. I discovered that fish are a great subject. If you have a pet store nearby, it's like an infinite source of photo references.
Ooh, I love how luminescent this piece is. I feel like 10K went out and got neon acrylics specifically for this piece, which I love to see. I love how people go out and seek specific things for whatever images that they eventually want to make. And for this case, I really feel like, first of all, it's definitely the inspiration for the fish. And second, the color, the neon color, just the pebbles that glow in the bottom and the way the light just makes the green and the red fish feel like they truly glow. I feel like if I ate one of these fish, I would die. Like, it's very poisonous.
It's like mushrooms. The prettier they are, the more poisonous they are.
Yeah.
10K, looking up close at the painting, I think there's so many different painting techniques you're doing, because back here, there's a lot of layering and a lot of the colors sort of blend into each other really seamlessly. But these strokes down here, these are super playful, really spontaneous. But then I do really appreciate some of the drawing in here so we can see the various details that are in the fins. And this
Mm.
is so wonderful. This giant patch of very muddy brownish colors, because it really is these colors that make the neon colors look so bright. Usually we look at this, we're like dazzled by the lime green fish and all the little pieces, but 10K, you really worked hard on those muted colors.
Yeah, I totally agree. The whole reason there's actually a really great instance here where there's a lime green fish on top of the muddier green foliage in the middle and the bottom left. Yes, there. And that fish glows all the more because of how desaturated and muddier the background is. There is no such thing as bad color. It's all good color depending on how you use it and what you put it next to.
Usually we're just dazzled by the neon colors when we don't realize that this is really doing a lot of heavy lifting in the context of your composition. And Manette says, it took me back to staring at the fish tanks in Walmart as a kid. And Butter says, I really feel the calm even with the neon colors. Okay, the next artist is Cam, who has a piece titled We Are Drowning in Heaven. And so this is an image. It's got many statues of liberty underwater. And this is exploring the dissonance between crumbling institutions, narratives of American greatness. So some of the questions here, can we continue to ignore reality as people drown around us? And this also drew inspiration from Hans Hock's condensation cubes and Yayoi Kusama's infinity mirror rooms. So I'm going to show you guys a whole bunch of these images at once so we really get a feel for the scope of this. But Kat, what are you seeing?
Oh my gosh, this is such a fun series as well. Fun as in very engaging. Perhaps the subject matter itself is a lot darker than me just saying it is fun. But what I really enjoy about this piece is how many different points of views we can look at it and still it forms a really riveting composition. That it definitely draws from referencing Yayoi Kusama's Infinity Mirrors uh, piece. But something else I really enjoy about this is how different it is from the other pieces we saw for this art dare. Suddenly we have socio-political commentary in this
Mhm.
piece that whose prompt is just about water.
I am amazed by how different each of these images is, because this one, there's a lot of figures, but I didn't even notice until I looked closely at this one where we're only getting the upper part of the torso. And I don't know what I'll have to ask Cam what kind of material this is, because I don't know if they're in the water or if they are cut and melt. I don't know. I always think about those little green army guys that you can buy at the toy store, and everybody spent their childhood melting. It probably was so bad for you. But I think just having the image of the Statue of Liberty, that's something most of us are very aware of. And then taking it out of the context that we typically see it in, number one, to have so many of them. When we see the Statue of Liberty, there's only one. We're not seeing a giant crowd like this. And I think part of that is very startling. And it does hold a lot of symbolism here because of its history, because of current events. And it's hard to make work about politics, I think.
I agree. It's hard to make work about politics that isn't regurgitated stuff you see all the time in newspapers. Like if I
Cliches.
see yeah, one more caricature of a politician that's, like, widely caricaturized, I'm like, "I'm tuned out, I've seen too many." But this really feels like a very novel approach, and I'm so glad you pointed it out, Clara, but there really is just there's one Statue of Liberty, and what happens if you multiply them by tens, hundreds, millions. It totally affects the way that we perceive this figure.
Butter says, appreciate this powerful message. Love the way Cam photographed this. And Lisa says, the water elevates Cam's pieces. Missa says, it's a difficult message conveyed in a beautiful way. And Rainbow Unicorn says, this is so cool. And I like what Manette says here. There are so many perspectives to examine it from. Definitely a piece that will keep you thinking. We have some prizes to give out, everybody. The honorable mention goes to 10,000 Crows. Congratulations. And the prize winner is Fiona. Great job, everybody. You know, we're always so proud of the work that you do on the Art Dares. Okay, before we get into the October Art Dare, I want to remind you that Art Club is our best program for learning because a huge part of it is live group mentoring. And you lead a whole bunch of these too, Kat.
Yes, I do. And I really appreciate getting to know people on a more intimate level in these group mentoring sessions. I get to talk to everyone, I get to learn everyone's names and understand the body of work that you're doing.
Art Club is where you want to go if you want to hang out with the TAs. That's where they all are. You go there, you'll get to see what they're doing, you'll get to see what their current work is, and most of all, get feedback and support from them. It's a great way to learn in a community because, as we said before, learning by yourself is really hard. And I know so many of you guys are self taught artists, and just having other people who are invested in your growth and progress, it just feels really good. I think for a lot of us, it's just so hard to try to motivate ourselves all the time without that support. Okay, the October Art Dare is Halloween related. It is to make art with a haunted house. And we're going to tell you you can use any 2D or 3D media to create an artwork of a haunted house. Well, Kat, you teach illustration at RISD. What are some tips for a prompt like this? We've seen a million haunted houses. How do we keep this interesting?
I think it's good to have a clear idea what your haunted house looks like and the story of why it's haunted. I think that would greatly inform the kind of house you choose, the color scheme, the mood. It could be something completely silly, like I can't help but think of Monster House, that very old 3D animated film, which was a little scary and mostly silly. Or it could be something that is so scary, like The Conjuring or some other horror film. So, understanding perhaps the story of your haunted house will inform the form of the house, the mood of the house, the colors, pretty much everything. But you really do need a specific narrative to follow.
I really like to ask myself, what is the most cliched response I could do for this prompt? Typically, when we see images of a haunted house, it's always a Victorian house. You don't usually get to see a Frank Lloyd Wright haunted house, and all you're going to take falling water and make it haunted or something like that. And so that's
Mhm.
the stereotype. And so I'll say to myself, okay, well, if that's the stereotype, I don't want to do that. And so one way you could start doing this, just look at pictures of houses. It could be any time period, any culture, any type of house would work for this because there's a lot of history of architecture out there for you guys to dig into. And I think it would be really fun for us all together to do our own versions that aren't the typical ones you see at CVS.
Mhm.
I also feel like lighting is a big part of this. This is from Stranger Things, but Kat, how would you ask people to think about light with their house?
Light affects the way we feel about a piece, so it could completely affect your mood. It can make something feel scary or silly. But it also helps. Light can also be a character. You can use light to indicate something is going on or something symbolic is happening. So you can think about light to set the mood, but also light in terms of how it delivers a story, how light can be a character or affect a character.
And by the way, yes, we're doing this obviously because of Halloween, but it doesn't have to have jack-o'-lanterns and ghosts. You can do it however you want. Like, this is by Howard Pyle, and I find the expression on this woman so startling. This painting is more about her than it is about the house. She's just taking up more space. The house is sort of in the distance, but the artwork doesn't have to have only the house. You can add cows in there. I don't know, whatever you want to put into the scene. So don't feel like you have to stick to a Halloween type of narrative at all.
Mhm.
We have a comment from Missa who says, if anyone needs a book, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is pretty darn good. Rainbow Unicorn says, I know exactly what I want to do. And Butter says, this dare makes my crusty old elder goth heart happy. Oh my gosh, Lisa's talking about a haunted doghouse. Okay, somebody has to do that now. And Nita says, I walked past a creepy old house yesterday. Wish I'd taken the reference photo. Well, maybe you need to go back and do that. And yeah, so easy to fall into the cliche. On the other hand, you could say, I'm going to make the most cliche haunted house ever. And I'm going to ham it up and make it very self-aware and ironic. I don't know. It's a type of prompt. It can be really silly and dopey, but it really can also be like truly scary if you guys want to do it that way. This is a funny combination because this is an original concept drawing for the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. And I really love these pencil sketches. This is by Harper Goff. And they look so happy. I don't know, like, even though it's like, I don't know, it's like, yay, haunted house.
Oh my gosh, I think you're totally right. I think that's so funny. It's true, it's a haunted mansion, but it's Disneyland. It can't be too scary. We gotta get the consumers to come and spend their money here.
I also love these interiors as well. So you guys can ask yourselves, do I want to do one room? Do I want to have a big hall like this? I think this is really funny because it's got these little footprints here. It looks like they were sitting at the piano. So you can add little narrative elements like that. So have fun, you guys. This is going to be really cool. This is the Winchester House in California. People think it's haunted. So you can definitely go down a rabbit hole of haunted houses. And this is one of my favorite creepy illustrations, which is from this old book called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This is an illustration by Stephen Gamble, and it's just everything I love. It's haunting. It's ethereal. It's transparent. Yes, Buddy does want to leave, but he's going to have to wait a second. Maybe when the stream ends. I don't know. If he gets upset, I'll let him go. But anyway, yes.
It's okay. Dogs
The Art
can
Dare
be patient.
Create 4 houses, but they all have to be from a different time period. So the Art Dare Leap is not required. It's only for some of you guys who want to do something a little bit more ambitious. And it's really fun. I've had some people do the Art Dare Leap and it ends up continuing and being more of a series. So sometimes an Art Dare is a really great springboard for doing something a little bit longer. And remember, come to our Discord. We have a whole channel on the Art Dares, and this is where you can submit in the Discord. We do have a pinned message with all the instructions for what to include. And we do love sharing your work on Instagram stories. Just tag us. And remember, if you don't have Discord, you can go to our website, artprof.org, and we do have on the Art Dare page, if you scroll down, there is a link to a Google form if you are not in the Discord. But we really will keep peer pressuring you to join the Discord, because that is where we're going to have a live chat immediately after the stream. So maybe we can start brainstorming together about haunted houses. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Remember, you want to chat with us. Live group mentoring happens in Art Club. And Buddy would like for you to subscribe to our channel and join our global art party. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you in the Discord. Bye.
Bye.